Imagine it is 6 p.m. on a random Monday night. Your city's fire trucks are gassed up, the street lights are, flickering on, and from the outside, everything just seems fine, like the machinery of your town is humming along. But inside this sterile, fluorescent lit room at City Hall, a really small group of people are simultaneously dealing with the tragic death of a local family, untangling this 21-year-old real estate feud and spending $12 million of public money. So, welcome to our deep dive. We are taking a magnifying glass to the invisible backstage work of local government today.
Yeah, and we so often view a city as this finished, static object. The roads are just there. The fire stations are just there. We completely ignore the hundreds of decisions and compromises and procedural hurdles that are required to make those things actually exist.
Right, exactly. And we have the ultimate primary source to decode that process for you today. We're looking at one incredibly detailed document. It is the official amended City Council special meeting agenda and the staff reports for the city of Gilroy, California, dated Monday, June 29th, 2026. This is led by Mayor Greg Bozo. And by unpacking just the single evening, we're going to see how a modern city balances the most mundane bureaucracy with literal life and death decisions.
The sheer spectrum of issues these council members have to pivot between is honestly staggering. I mean, you have to be a community cheerleader one minute, a legal risk manager the next, and then a high-level construction financier right after that.
The emotional whiplash is really what gets me. Like, if you put yourself in that room right at 6 p.m., the meeting starts exactly how you'd expect. Very procedural. The mayor mentions how the public can access translation services via QR codes. They go over the standard rules for public comment, and then they move into the ceremonial portion of the night.
Right, the proclamations.
Yeah, they issue this Screen-Free Week proclamation. It is a very lighthearted, community-focused moment to encourage local kids to just, put down their iPads and go outside. Everyone is smiling.
It's a standard feel-good local government initiative. You see it all the time.
Okay, let's unpack this because literally the very next page of the agenda is the consent calendar. And for those who don't know, this is where they approve routine items in one big batch, right?
Yep. Usually just administrative housekeeping.
Exactly. But nestled right in there is the formal rejection of a claim against the city. And it's not a claim for a pothole damaging someone's tire or something small. It is the claim of SS and AS, the surviving minor children of Andrew and Stacia Stewart, and the estates of Andrew and Stacia Stewart.
Yeah, that is heavy.
It really is. Within 60 seconds, the tone in that room shifts from celebrating a fun break from screens to addressing a severe family tragedy where children have literally lost their parents.
And to an outside observer, maybe a citizen sitting in the back row of the chambers just waiting for their item to come up, seeing a city council formally reject a claim from surviving minor children feels incredibly cold.
I have to admit, it feels worse than cold to me. It feels completely heartless. Like, if I'm in that room, I'm probably furious. How does a city justify looking at a massive tragedy like that and just, stamping rejected on the paperwork?
Well, what's fascinating here is that if we look closely at the staff report submitted by the interim Human Resources Director and Risk Manager, Leanne McPhillips, we actually see the mechanics of municipal liability at work. The agenda doesn't even state how the parents died.
Oh, wait, it doesn't?
No, not at all. Was it a car accident involving a city vehicle? Was it a downed power line? We simply don't know, because the paperwork is designed to be completely emotionally detached. The rejection is explicitly based on a recommendation from legal counsel and the Municipal Pooling Authority, or the MPA.
Okay, and what exactly does the Municipal Pooling Authority do? I've never heard of that.
Right, so cities often band together to form these joint insurance pools to handle risk and liability, because a single massive lawsuit could literally bankrupt a small town overnight.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, so when a city receives a claim of this magnitude, like a wrongful death or a massive estate claim, rejecting it at the council level is almost always a required procedural step. The city isn't passing a moral judgment on the Stewart family. By administratively rejecting the claim, the city just forces the issue out of the council chambers and into the formal court system.
Ah, I see. Meaning they are moving it to the only place that is actually equipped to handle it.
Precisely. Complex liability and discovery and estate settlements, they just cannot be decided by a mayor on a random Monday night. They have to go through proper legal channels. So this rejection is actually the mechanism that allows the legal process to formally begin, while simultaneously protecting the city's current operating budget from an immediate unvetted payout.
Wow, it just really grounds you in the heavy reality of the job. But The crazy thing is the council doesn't even get to pause and reflect on that. They clear the legal ledger, protecting their budget, and then they immediately prepare to take a massive hit to that exact same budget.
Right on to the next item.
Yep. The next major item on the docket is authorizing a $12 million check for a brand new piece of infrastructure.
The new Santa Teresa Fire Station.
Yeah?
This is a monumental upgrade for the service coverage and the response times for the residents and businesses of Gilroy.
And they're finally replacing a temporary station, right? The one that has been sitting at the ranch side portion of Christmas Hill Park.
Exactly. It's a huge deal for the community.
And the details of this new facility are honestly fascinating. They are building it on a 1.36-acre city-owned parcel at the southeast corner of West Luchessa Avenue and Miller Avenue. It's a 6,500 square foot building, 2 apparatus bays for the big fire engines, full dormitory space, a kitchen, offices.
And importantly, it's designed as an all-electric critical facility with EV charging built right in.
Which is super modern. But the physical blueprints are one thing. The backstory of how this specific piece of land actually became a fire station is a perfect illustration of how slow, messy, and, heavily negotiated urban development really is.
Yeah, it really pulls the curtain back.
Seriously. And if you're listening to this and your eyes are glazing over at the phrase development agreement, stick with us because this is where the municipal drama actually happens. The staff report notes that the city entered into this agreement with the Glen Loma Group way back in 2005.
That is 21 years before this meeting took place. Let that sink in.
21 years? I mean, think about what you were doing in 2005. It's wild. Why did it take so long?
Well, the core philosophy of modern urban planning is that growth pays for growth. If a private developer wants to build a massive new housing subdivision, that sudden influx of residents is going to strain the city's existing resources heavily. They will need more water, more schools, and crucially, more fire protection.
Right. You can't just drop 1,000 new houses in a town and not build a new fire station.
Exactly. So in 2005, the city told the Glen Loma Group they could build their housing along Santa Teresa Boulevard, but only if the developer also delivered a fully built turnkey fire station to the city.
Turnkey meaning completely ready to go, just unlock the door.
Yes, hand over the keys and move the trucks in.
But there was a trigger point in the contract, right, at the 1100th building permit. Like, before they could build house number 1101, that fire station had to be done. But, as the staff report politely summarizes, due to a variety of factors, the project was delayed.
Oh yeah, that phrase is the bureaucratic equivalent of a massive heavy sigh. 2 decades of economic downturn, supply chain issues, and just shifting housing markets completely stalled the project.
The 2008 crash alone probably wrecked that timeline.
Absolutely. The reality on the ground changed drastically, so that original 2005 deal had to evolve.
So jump forward to November 2024, they finally restructured the whole thing. Instead of forcing the developer to physically build the station, which clearly just wasn't happening, they flipped the script. The developer agreed to just give the 1.36-acre parcel of land directly to the city, and the city would take over the actual construction.
But the developer still has to pay their share. The new agreement stipulates that the Glen Loma Group will pay a final $3.6 million toward the construction costs once a specific tentative map is recorded.
Okay, stop right there. What is a tentative map in this context? Because that sounds like a sketch on a napkin.
It does sound like that, yeah. But in real estate development, a tentative map is actually the preliminary legal drawing of property lines. It outlines exactly where the streets, the individual lots, and the public easements will go.
Okay, so it's a bit more formal than a napkin sketch.
It's more formal. Once the city officially approves and records that map, the housing project becomes legally real. It's the green light for the developer to eventually start selling lots. So the city brilliantly tied that $3.6 million payment to the exact moment the developer gets that highly valuable green light.
That is smart. So after 21 years of arguing, negotiating, and just waiting around, the city finally has the land, they have the funding mechanism locked in, and this meeting in 2026 is the night they actually hire the crew to build it. They are awarding a contract with a maximum project cost of $12,279,555.
And the methodology they're using to build it is almost as important as the building itself. Gilroy is using a procurement method called design build.
Right, which the staff report mentions is a major departure from how municipalities traditionally operate. So much so that the voters of Gilroy actually had to specifically authorize it through a charter amendment back on November 8, 2022.
It's a huge shift in municipal strategy.
So let me try an analogy here because municipal procurement laws are usually, drier than dust. Let's say you are ordering a massive, intricate wedding cake. The traditional way cities build things is called design bid build.
Right, three distinct phases.
Exactly. So in the wedding cake scenario, that means you first hire a specialized artist to draw a beautiful, complex picture of the cake. That's your design phase. Then you take that drawing and ask 5 different bakers how cheap they can make it. And you are legally required to hire the cheapest baker.
Which is where the trouble usually starts.
Yes. Because when the cheapest baker tries to actually bake it, the cake collapses. The baker points at the artist and yells, "The drawing was structurally impossible." The artist points at the baker and yells, "You used cheap flour." And you, the taxpayer who just wanted a cake, are stuck paying extra money to fix it while they sue each other.
That is a perfect analogy. In municipal government, that finger-pointing doesn't just ruin a party, it triggers multi-million-dollar lawsuits that drag on for years and years.
So design build, this new method Gilroy voters approved, is like walking into a master bakery and saying, "I have $12 million. I need a cake that feeds this many people. You design it and you bake it." You hire one single entity to do both.
Exactly. The designer and the builder are on the same contract.
But I have to push back on this a little bit. If I hand the design phase and the construction phase over to the exact same company, aren't I removing a vital check and balance? Like, doesn't that just invite the builder to cut corners or hide cost overruns because there's no independent architect keeping an eye on them?
It is absolutely the most common fear associated with design build. But the staff report actually addresses this, and decades of industry data back it up. Consolidating the contract actually reduces the city's overall risk because you create a single point of responsibility.
So they can't blame anyone else.
Right. If there's a design flaw that causes a construction headache, that unified team has to fix it within their guaranteed maximum price. The city isn't caught in the middle of a dispute between two separate companies demanding change orders.
Okay, so it eliminates the finger pointing entirely.
Completely. Furthermore, costs are clearly defined much earlier in the process through what the industry calls bridging documents.
Bridging documents, which are what exactly?
Bridging documents are essentially preliminary designs. They aren't the final bolt-by-bolt blueprints, but they are detailed enough, maybe 30% of the final design, to bridge the gap between the city's conceptual idea and the final construction drawings. The design build team uses those bridging documents to lock in a fixed price really early on.
Okay, that makes sense. Plus, looking at the report, the city hired an outside firm called Griffin Structures to act as their project manager. So they still have an independent watchdog representing the taxpayers' interests, overseeing the whole operation anyway.
Yes, you still have oversight. And the team Gilroy selected to actually do the design build work is a joint venture. Zumwalt Construction teamed up with Teeter Architecture. And when you look at their resume, it is exactly what you want for a critical facility.
Yeah, the report mentions they beat out 3 other teams primarily because of their track record. They've built CL fire stations all over the state. Station 72 in Fremont, they finished it 2 months ahead of schedule and on budget. Station 83 in Farmersville, finished under budget.
Which is practically unheard of in public works.
I know, right? They are currently building 3 more in Fresno County, and on top of that stellar resume, they submitted the lowest cost during the best and final offer stage.
It is incredibly rare to find a team that has a proven history of delivering specialized emergency facilities both early and cheap. Usually you have to pick one or the other.
Very true. But here's where it gets really interesting. Looking at the specific line items is where the pragmatic reality of government hits you. We have the contractor, we have the $12 million budget. But the council has to make incredibly specific choices about where the margins go. What they chose not to build is fascinating.
Or the budget allowances.
Yeah, so they have a standard project contingency of about $228,000 for unexpected surprises. They are adding $66,285 to extend underground utilities to a future use area at the rear of the site.
Which is just smart, forward-thinking planning. It is vastly more expensive to tear up poured concrete to run water pipes and electrical conduit 5 years from now than it is to just lay them down while the dirt is already exposed.
That makes perfect sense for the pipes. But looking further on the list, there's one allowance of $163,500 set aside exclusively for PG&E related work. Why would they segment that out so specifically?
Well, anyone who has attempted a commercial construction project in California knows that coordinating with the major utility providers is often the single biggest bottleneck you will face.
Really? Just getting the power turned on?
Oh, absolutely. The staff report explicitly calls out PG&E approvals and infrastructure work as a significant risk to schedule. They are proactively building a massive financial buffer just to handle anticipated utility delays and interconnection fees.
Just acknowledging that PG&E is going to slow them down. That is wild. And speaking of energy, we have to talk about the solar panels because this is a brand new all-electric fire station being built in California in 2026.
You would assume solar is a given.
Exactly. You would assume that putting solar panels on the roof or over the parking lot is a total no-brainer, like almost a state mandate at this point. But the city staff explicitly recommended against a $416,585 addition for covered solar parking. How does an all-electric facility in California justify skipping solar?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the harsh reality of how a 24-hour critical facility actually consumes power. A fire station isn't a corporate office building that just powers down when everyone goes home at 5 p.m.
Right. It's not a 9 to 5 operation.
Not at all. First responders are living there all night. The massive apparatus trucks need to be charged. The emergency communication radios need to be powered. The lights need to stay on.
The demand literally never stops.
Never. The staff report points out that without a massive, incredibly expensive battery storage system to capture that daytime solar energy, the panels just have a very limited operational benefit for a facility that demands heavy power consumption around the clock.
Wow, I didn't even think about the batteries. And it comes down to funding too, right?
Hmm.
The report mentions they aggressively looked for state and federal grants to help pay for that $416,000 solar canopy, but there just aren't any available right now. They actually cite shifting federal priorities and state budget challenges.
And this is where local officials have to earn their votes. They have to choose pragmatism over optics. Because a solar canopy looks fantastic on a city brochure, right? It sounds great in a press release.
Oh, definitely. Look how green we are.
Exactly. But when you are managing limited taxpayer dollars, you have to prioritize. They chose to spend the $66,000 on underground utility lines because that is physically hard to do later. And they chose to hold off on the $416,000 solar canopy because that can easily be bolted onto the parking lot a few years down the line when new grant money finally frees up.
It's a frustrating call, but it makes sense. It's the responsible one. So they approve the contract. The $12.2 million is allocated. The public session of the meeting adjourns. But the night still isn't over.
No, it is not. The public leaves the room, the cameras turn off, and we move to the final portion of the agenda, the closed session.
So what does this all mean? This is where the real human element of local government begins. The agenda lists a conference with labor negotiators. The city administrator, Matt Morley, and the human resources director, Leanne McPhillips, sit down across the table from the labor unions.
Specifically, they are negotiating with two key groups. First, AFSCME Local 101. That is the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, which represents the general and supervisory staff of the city.
Okay, the broader city staff.
Right. And second, the IAFF Fire Unit, Local 2805, the International Association of Firefighters, the union representing the very people who will be working inside that brand new Santa Teresa station.
And they are in there negotiating wages, hours, benefits, and working conditions. Like the memorandums of understanding that dictate the livelihoods of the people who actually keep the city running. But why is this part hidden from the public? Doesn't the public have a right to know how their money is being spent on salaries?
Well, under California's Brown Act, city business generally must be conducted in open public meetings. But there are a few strict exceptions, and labor negotiations are one of them.
Why is that an exception?
Think about it like a poker game. If the city council had to discuss their absolute maximum budget for employee raises in front of a live microphone, the unions would know exactly how much money is on the table before bargaining even begins. Closed sessions allow the city to strategize and give their negotiators, like Matt Morley, clear financial boundaries without showing their hand publicly.
Oh, I see. It protects the taxpayer's negotiating position. But there is a profound symmetry to this single evening's agenda. For the first hour of the meeting, in the bright lights of the public chambers, the city secures the physical bricks and mortar. They approved the $12 million to build the physical infrastructure where the fire department will live.
The building itself.
Right. And then, the very moment that is done, they lock the doors to secure the financial futures of the human beings who will actually work inside that building.
You really cannot have one without the other. A state-of-the-art, all-electric facility with EV chargers and underground utilities is completely useless if you don't have a fairly compensated, well-supported, highly trained crew ready to drive those trucks out of the bays at 3 a.m.
It is incredible when you step back and look at the whole picture. We started this deep dive looking at a mundane Monday night in June. And in just a few hours, this council went from promoting a screen-free week for toddlers to navigating the severe legal complexities of a tragic family estate claim. They resolved a land development dispute that had been dragging on since 2005.
They executed a massive $12.2 million design-build contract.
They made difficult choices about solar energy and PG&E delays, and then they stayed late into the night to negotiate the wages of their first responders. It's a lot.
It really is the ultimate civic balancing act. But, analyzing an agenda like this also forces us to confront a pretty difficult question about the future.
What do you mean?
Well, think about the timeline we just discussed. It took 21 years of arguing over tentative maps and building permits and handshake agreements just to get the shovels in the ground for a single necessary fire station. 21 years.
Yeah, an entire generation, basically.
Exactly. So the next time you drive past a newly built piece of local infrastructure like a fire station or a library, don't just look at the bricks. Ask yourself something. If the machinery of local government moves this slowly by design, if it takes 2 decades to build one building, how on earth is this exact same system going to adapt to the rapid-fire challenges of the next decade?
Oh, wow. That's a scary thought.
Right. How does a system this bureaucratic handle sudden climate change impacts, or the rapid integration of artificial intelligence into city services, or just sudden economic shocks? If government is built to move at a 21-year pace to ensure every penny is tracked and every risk is mitigated, is it actually equipped to survive the speed of our future?
That is a staggering thought to leave on. The systems that keep us safe today might be moving entirely too slowly to protect us tomorrow. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.